Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Kozmo deck profile. So this deck is a super fun deck that plays basically with spaceships. What's not to love about that? So really quickly guys, I want to give a shout out to one of my buddies, Toad Plays. He's one of my best friends, and he's been my best friend since I was 6, and this is his favorite deck. Like one of his favorite decks besides Despots. This deck is the one that he built in real life that I built for him. This is not the exact build that he has, but it's close. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell on there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and let's get straight on to this. So this deck is basically based around Star Wars and the Wizard of Oz, which is really cool to be able to say that. It's super awesome, and it's relatively budget. You can get it for about $100 for the main deck, and it doesn't really need an extra deck, which is I think why Todd, my best friend, loves this deck so much, is because you don't have to have an extra deck to play this, really. But you can, and it makes it a little bit better. So, first off, we're going to be playing one copy of Kozmo Dark Eclipser. So, Dark Eclipser's ability, basically, is they kind of climb down as they get destroyed from levels. So, this is the level 9 that we play. It cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects, and during either player's turn, when a trap is activated, you can banish a Kozmo monster from your graveyard to negate the activation if you destroy that card. If this card is destroyed by battle or by card effect, and sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then add a level 8 or lower Kozmo monster from your deck to your hand. Now the rest of them special summon from the deck. They don't add to hand, so that's why we only play one copy of Dark Eclipser. Then we play 3 of the best ship, and that is Dark Destroyer. If this card is normal or special summon, you get to target a monster on the field and destroy it. And it can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects, which just makes it really powerful to be able to be untargetable. A lot of them are untargetable, which is really nice to be able to have an untargetable beat stick, if you will, on the field. And it also has the ability, if it's destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can banish it and then special summon a level 7 or lower Kozmo monster from your deck. So the level 7 that we play is Forerunner. We play 2 copies of Forerunner. I really think that 2 is the optimal number. I see a lot of people play this card at 1, and I'm like, man, that card's so good at 2. You need to play it at 2. It can be targeted by your opponent's card effects, and during each of your standby phases, it lets you gain 1,000. If it's destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can special summon a level 6 Kozmo, which are level 6 or lower. All of them are their level -1, but lower. So you can special summon a level 5 if you want to special summon a level 5 off of Dark Destroyer, but it kind of doesn't really work as well. Then we play 1 copy of Dogfighter. I like 1 copy of Dogfighter. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can special summon a Dogfighter token that's a level 6, 2,000, 2,400. And if this card is destroyed battle, you can special summon a level 5. I like having the extra token and to be able to climb a little bit more, so you can go into the 5s after this. So you're never really going to take battle damage. I mean, like, you're going to take battle damage, but you're not going to take a direct attack. It's really hard to get at Kozmo's life points directly because you have to go through so many monsters to actually get them because they all replace themselves. So then we play 3 copies of Kozmo Slip Rider. Slip Rider, when it's special summon, you get to target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it. And if it's destroyed by battle, you can special summon a level 5 Kozmo. But we also play 1 copy of Kozmo, which is not a ship, but it's a level 5 or higher. Kozmo is the first pilot that we play. These are all of our ships, and now we start the pilot. So for this pilot, during either player's turn, when you can banish this card, special summon 1 level 6 or higher Kozmo monster from your hand. And you can also, when your opponent activates a monster effect, during either player's turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to negate the effect, and if you do, destroy it. Which is really good to be able to just negate monster effects. 1 copy of Wicked Witch. Wicked Witch, you can pay 1,000 life points and then make this card not be able to destroy a battle or by card effects. This card is really good. And also has the ability that during either player's turn, you can banish it to special summon a level 5 or higher Kozmo monster from your hand. So the pilots let you banish them to special summon level highers than they are from your hand, which is really good. Some of them special summon from the deck too. Then we play 1 copy of Good Witch. Good Witch is basically a Book of Moon, and it lets you banish it, special summon a level 5 or higher as well. 2 copies of Farm Girl. Farm Girl is really good because during either player's turn, you can banish this card, special summon a level 4 or higher Kozmo monster from your hand, and then you can also, if this card deals battle damage to your opponent, you can pay 500 life points to add a Kozmo monster from your deck to your hand. I think it's a good 2 of. You could get away with 1, but I like 2 because I want to see it. 2 copies of Sword Trooper. Sword Trooper is pretty decent During either player's turn, you can banish it to special summon a level 4 or higher, and it also has the ability that once per turn, you can pay 1,000 to target one of your banished Kozmo monsters, or one of your Kozmos in your graveyard, and special summon it, which is really good to be able to special summon your Kozmos that are in the graveyard, because a lot of them end up in the graveyard. Then we play 2 copies of Strawman as well. You see this, you play a lot of different Kozmos, so you have like this toolbox of Kozmos that you can like grab at any time that you might need them. So the 1 copy of the 2 copies of Strawman, basically what it does is you can pay 500 life points and then target one of your banished Kozmo monsters and special summon it, but its effects are negated and destroyed during the end phase, which is fine if it gets destroyed because it's just going to trigger and special summon another one. Then we play 3 copies of the best one, and that's 3 copies of Tin Can. Tin Can is R2-D2 and it is literally the best Kozmo. Basically what it does is during either player's turn, you can banish special summon a level 2 or higher Kozmo monster from your hand, and then you can also act the effect of once per turn during the end phase, you can pay 500 life points to reveal 3 Kozmo cards with different names from your deck, and then your opponent randomly picks one and you get to add it to your hand. You send the rest to the grave. So it makes Sword Trooper really, really live to be able to do that, to be able to get all those cards in the grave, because you're sending 2 to grave and adding 1 to hand, so it really makes the deck live with playing the copies of Tin Can. Then I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. You need the 3 copies of Ash Blossom because Ash Blossom just prevents your opponent from doing all sorts of shenanigans while you're trying to get your Kozmo plays off. So that's it for the monsters. I know it's a high monster count, but it's well worth it. You have to play all these monsters just to get the deck to work. It is a lot of monsters, but it works. So for these spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Call by the Grave. You need 3 copies of Call by the Grave because Call by the Grave prevents your opponent from hand trapping you and stops stuff like that. 1 copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn kind of brings back your Cosmos that Tin Can sends to the grave. 1 for 1 because we want to play extra copies of Tin Can. Reasoning because they're all different levels and they can special summon themselves. Terraforming to add Cosmo Town. 2 copies of Limiter Removal. Limiter Removal is awesome in this deck because all of your Cosmo monsters that are the ships are machines and they're all, 2300 or more, and this card is going to destroy them during end phase, which is going to trigger them anyways. But I just play 2 because you really just need 2. You could get away with 3 if you wanted to play 3, but 2 just seems better to me. And then for the last 3 spells, I play 3 copies of Kozmo Town. Kozmo Town is so good because you're playing so many monsters that are level 5 or higher, and they're hard to summon out that way. This card acts as Magical Mallet because you can reveal any number of Kozmo monsters in your hand and shuffle them into the deck and then draw the same number of cards. If it's sent to the graveyard or destroyed, when it's destroyed by a card effect, you can add a Kozmo card from your deck to your hand, and then once per turn, you can target one of your banished Kozmo monsters and return it to your hand, and if you do, you have to lose life points equal to that monster's attack, which is the only downside to this card, that you're losing life points. This card is so good because all you're doing is losing a little bit of life to gain a Kozmo back in the hand to make all of your pilots live again, that if you banish something like Dark Destroyer, you can just bring it right back with this. So this card is so busted. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're only playing 4 in here, and it's something that I personally prefer, and I play 1 copy of Cosmojo and 3 copies of Call of the Haunted because I don't care if they do get destroyed. You can play back to the front if you want to play back to the front, but this lets me revive my Link monsters, so I really prefer to play Call of the Haunted. And plus, I'm not too concerned if my opponent Twin Twisters me because I'm just going to summon the Kozmo monster, and then they get destroyed, and then it doesn't matter at that point because they're going to trigger. Cosmojo is kind of controversial that I played at 1. I don't feel like I need it more than 1. You can play more than 1 if you want to. I even have 2 copies of it. I have like 3. I think I have a playset of this, and I only play 1 copy of it because I don't feel like you need it. You can target a Cosmo monster you control, destroy it, and if you do, you get to banish a card your opponent controls or in their graveyard. It's good, but it's not good. So I just play it as 1 of. Call of the Hunt is just here to revive stuff so I can link climb, and I can also go into like Dark Destroyer and bring it back because a lot of the times you're going to be summoning Dark Destroyer. So that's it for the traps. Let's get into the extra deck, and that's it for the whole main deck actually. So let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 1 copy of Topologic. You need to play Topologic in here because if you special summon your Kozmo monsters to zones it points to, it destroys everything on the field, which can be really beneficial to you, and it can climb as well. This card's a big combo piece in the deck, and I summon this all the time. It's the only card that I really think you really need in the extra deck, besides maybe the Nightmares. One copy of Boral Sword and Boral Load because they're OTK makers. I summon this quite frequently as well, which is the Blackluster Soldier Link monster, because a lot of my monsters are level 5 and higher, and they're level 7 and higher, so I can use stuff like Forerunner to summon this, and then it gains its additional effects, which is really beneficial. It's not quite as good as it is in Thunder Dragons and stuff like that, but it's still a good card. Topologic Trisbania. Trisbania is here because I don't play a lot of back row, so I don't really care if I destroy back row. Nightmare Unicorn, basically because it bounces spells or bounces cards. This card destroys spells and traps, and this card destroys monsters. I play a Cleafort Genius because it can help out quite a lot by special summoning monsters to its zones it points to. Underclock Taker because it's Underclock Taker. Beat Cop because Beat Cop is good as a generic link. Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy, it's a nice suggestion. You can play more Link monsters if you want, but Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy because both of your you can summon it off of 2 copies of Dark Destroyer, which you might not want to summon it off of that, but it's an option if you want to. Red Eyes Flare Metal. Flare Metal is here because you can summon it off of 2 copies of Forerunner, and then Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Dragon Infinity because you can summon this extremely easily by just summoning Cyber Dragon Nova off of your copies of Slip Rider. The level 5 one, you summon it off of 2 of these, which is extremely easy to get on the field, surprisingly. And then you have a free negate on the field as well. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a super fun deck. I highly recommend that you try it out. It's probably the main deck you can probably get for less than $100. I would have to say, I don't know how much Cosmojos are going for, but the less Cosmojos you play, the cheaper the deck gets, because that's not a card that hasn't been reprinted. I think the most expensive card in the entire deck is your copies of Tin Can. So anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and there's become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.